something as simple as watching The Tonight Show. These are things that can be affected, and in some cases, like The Tonight Show, The Late Late Show, The Late Show, all of these shows have already gone off the air because of this writer's strike, so it does affect people. Even if Hollywood arguing with itself isn't enough of public theater there, it does affect entertainment coming into people's homes as well. Just kind of starting off with some of the basics, and the fact that the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, they've been negotiating for a while. This is one of those things where the writers have gone on strike several times throughout their history. I remember when I was a kid in 1987 watching the news about a really protracted strike that prevented Late Night with David Letterman from going on the air, and it was a big thing even back then. There was another writer's strike in 2007, and they narrowly avoided a strike in 2020 because of the pandemic going on. So I think a lot of this that's going on right now is kind of pent-up stuff, like, well, you can't go on strike right now, it's the pandemic. So all of those...
the pressure's been building.
Talks broke down a week ago. I think everyone in Hollywood kind of knew this was coming because the Late Late Show with James Corden, which is my favorite late night show of the last couple of years, the Late Late Show ended its run. They announced that it was going to be ending in 2023 anyway, but when they said that it was going to be ending a little bit early at the end of April, I kind of started going, well, why would they end in April? Why wouldn't they end with May sweeps? And then you find out, oh, well, the show's going off the air entirely. No one's replacing him. And then all of a sudden the news of the potential writer's strikes.
You end up doing the math and you go, there we go. That's
yeah. So they don't want to end the show on strike. So they ended in April. And there are a lot of interesting issues to talk about. And part of that is now studios are starting to shut down. And as a result, these picket lines are forming, and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers.
Call them the producers.
Yeah, the producers, the
AMPTP.
Yeah, that's a big acronym. It's the AMPTP.
David Letterman has a great description for the producers.
Cowards, cutthroats, and weasels.
I may not be here for a while. You!
Wait a minute.
You! And you!
Aren't you forgetting something? I love you.
This message has been brought to you by the Writers Guild of America.
Sums it up as cowards, cutthroats, and weasels. That was during the precipice of the last strike, the last big one, where he ended up actually signing a side deal as a producer, because he is a writer, but was the owner of
Worldwide Pants.
That show. He was the producer, he was the owner, and so he signed a deal. He was one of the first to sign a deal with the Writers Guild. And you look at Letterman's history, there is an owner who remembered that he was a worker once. And all his behavior since back in the NBC days, you look at worker-friendly choices he made, but remembered that he was once a worker and behaved accordingly. And so, cutthroats, cowards, and weasel.
This is a weird business where, yes, there are unions, there are guilds, but a lot of times people are playing multiple roles at the same time. Even when we had the accident on Alec Baldwin's set, he was the star of the film, but he was also a producer on the film. So a lot of times you get people wearing multiple hats in this business in shows and writing rooms. You have people that are producers on shows who are also heads of writing staff.
I think we can get caught up too much in those labels. Alec Baldwin, briefly, he was a producer. He got handed that title as part of his deal because he was one of the people that helped the real producers of the show make the movie happen. But in no way did he have set power. He wasn't saying, oh, you're going to hire that person as the production manager. You're going to have... He wasn't a real producer. He was somebody who, because he was attached, the movie got made. Oh, you got a star. And his agent's like, yeah, he's identified as a producer. That said, you do have, and a handful of showrunners who are both, in a way, they're kind of like the lead hand. They are both running the whole production, making decisions across the board, and also are the creative impetus. They are the head writer. They don't just run the writing room, they run the production. And those folks are in a bit of a bind.
And even if it was one of those things where the scripts were already written, well, can we just shoot everything? Well, sure, you can shoot what was written, but if you're abiding by a strike and not writing things during a strike, then you could theoretically only shoot what was on the page. That was one of the interesting things that I was reading.
Well, there's that A through H exclusions, but the Writers Guild is saying, no, that's all struck work. Those showrunners are in a bit of a bind. First of all, do they cross the picket line at all? Because they are writers. They are guild members in good standing, dues-paying guild members, but also their employer, HBO, Disney, they're all saying, we expect you to show up for work. And if you don't, you could be held in breach of contract. We also reserve the right to not pay you. Well, kind of like the writers that aren't working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think less a threat than you're in breach of contract and we might sue you.
Absolutely. And so all of that starts, all of those legalese start coming into effect, and people gets kind of, you get stuck on both sides of the line in that case, because you want to support your friends in the writer's room, but you also don't want to have to deal with litigation.
And don't become a showrunner if you can't. You know what? You want to be a boss? Guess what? These are the tough calls that bosses have to make. You know what? And I don't have much sympathy for the showrunners who are going, and again, Letterman had a great bit at the beginning of this piece where he goes, got to worry about the writers.
I've been a member of that guild for all my life. And on the other hand,
all the other people who depend on the show and
the welfare of the staff and the crew who work here at The Late Show. And yours truly, once again, caught right in the middle.
I'm the victim here.
Right in the middle, ladies and gentlemen.
And no matter what I do, I'm the hero.
If this strike turns out to hurt anyone, it'll be yours truly. I'm the one who gets hurt here. Do you understand?
And of course, he's being a smart ASS.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad we agree on that.
No, you're not the problem. You're still getting paid. You're okay. That strikes do have a significant impact on the folks immediately, but there's a reason they went on strike.